The sugar is devil, especially after the age of 40. I'm a recovering sugar addict. Hello. I stopped in 2021 and I was actually forced to stop. I didn't want to stop. I wasn't willing to stop, but over time, I've cut out caffeine, I've cut out gluten, I've cut out dairy before. Sugar by far was the hardest thing to cut out of my diet. And I didn't even realize that my addiction was that bad. I was all day long driven by sugar, all day long trying to satisfy a sweet tooth, have a crash, and do it all over again. So, pretty much my whole adult life that I can remember was like that. And I didn't even notice it was a problem. Even going through the sugar withdrawal was so awful. The nausea, the headaches, from sugar was way worse than anything I ever experienced through caffeine withdrawal. Now, when I have sugar, especially processed sugar, I feel so sick afterwards. I instantly get a headache. I have a major crash and I'm in bed the rest of the day feeling terrible and awful. That's wild to me. So wild that it's an indicator to me how bad sugar really is for you. I had built up a tolerance over time that my body couldn't handle it. And now that I've eliminated it from my diet, my body is actually reacting to what it really does to your system. And to think that a lot of kids live off of sugar. I know that's how it all started for me as a kid. I lived off of sugar. And if we could only teach them better. So, why is sugar addictive? Did you know that sugar simulates drugs like opiates? The addictiveness is just like a lot of drugs out there, which another wild craziness. There is a brain reward that happens just like drugs. There's a dopamine release that happens that makes you feel good. It's what I call like that yummy deliciousness you're looking for. And I remember it so well with sugar. Every time my craving hit, even if it was a little piece of chocolate, I felt so good, so satisfied till I would have my crash and then my next craving would hit. And then I would go look for more all day long. Then it would lead to binging. Have you ever done that before with sugar? It's like you have one satisfying donut or cookie, and then you're like, I want another and another. So you can keep getting that continued dopamine, like feel good feeling hit. Over time, you build this tolerance, just like drugs. And then you need more and more to get that reward system or that feel good dopamine release. So it's this never ending vicious cycle, always looking to get satisfied, that craving that is just triggered by your brain in this toxic habit you've developed. So you might be wondering, well, what's the big deal? Why is it so bad for you? It's not illegal. Everybody consumes sugar. Like, who cares? What's the big deal? Like, I know that's what I thought for the longest time. Well, especially after the age of 40, our metabolism changes and sugar really slows down our metabolism too. Our body tends to take sugar and it stores on our body as fat. And then after the age of 40, usually that fat is in that midsection area, which not fun at all to get that little tire around your belly area. And then that fat tends to be more visceral fat, which can be a precursor for heart disease, diabetes. Also, as we age, we can develop insulin resistance, making it hard to stabilize our blood sugar levels, which again can lead to diabetes. So after 40, for women, really it's our late 30s, we also experience these hormonal changes. And sugar can make those shifts in our hormones way worse. We already have it bad enough. We don't need to make it worse on ourselves. Okay, so I just went over like a few of the health issues and problems it can cause, but there is a whole list of them. Now that you understand its addictive nature and some of just a few reasons why it's harmful for your body and your brain, how do you actually stop this addictive habit? Like, how do you stop this unhealthy roller coaster cycle? So, as I mentioned, I was in a forced situation with my health. I had to go cold turkey. I had an emergency health situation happen, and my doctor told me that I was creating so much inflammation in my body. But over time, I learned some tips and tricks along the way to make it easier to finally let go of the sugar and not be dependent on it anymore. So the first thing I would recommend is you can either decide to ease into it or you can go cold turkey like I did, but you got to expect some type of withdrawal symptoms, especially if you're very addicted to it. You've been doing it for a really long time, but you could experience some headaches, migraines, nausea, and even some worst case scenarios, some vomiting. So if you're someone that has it maybe like 3 times a day, you can ease into it by going to 2 times a day, eventually to 1 time a day, and then eventually 0. Now, I still have sugar like once a week, but I'm not dependent on it like I was before. Another huge, huge tip is start your day with protein and fats and focus on getting more protein and fats throughout the day. And that's going to help balance your blood sugar levels. Whereas a lot of people, when they start their day with sugars, whether it's like donuts, muffins, whatever it might be, syrup, their sugar levels are like spiking and crashing all day long. And that is part of this whole craving, the addiction, this whole vicious cycle. So when you try it, it's going to be a huge impact on your life. The next is get sleep and get hydrated. A lot of times we're exhausted, and that's why we use sugar to get us through the day. It's, again, a wild roller coaster ride. We're not getting enough sleep or we're not getting enough water, which dehydration makes us feel tired too. So when you feel energized and refreshed naturally, you're less likely to go grab that sugar to give you that quick dopamine hit, which ultimately, again, leads you to the crash, and then you're on the hamster wheel. So one last tip I'll give you is identify your triggers. So for me, after every meal, my brain automatically felt it needed some kind of sugar. It's like, eat dinner, have something sweet after. So it almost became just a habit, something I just did. Okay. So, or maybe for you, it is a party or a social event is your trigger when you tend to consume sugar. Maybe it's when you're in stress times, you go grab that sugar. Find out what the thing is for you that wants to grab that sweet treat, that dessert, that candy, whatever it might be. And then you can switch that trigger to a healthier habit, like maybe it's fruit that will satisfy that sweet tooth for a little bit. Or I love sparkling water instead. But this is what I'll tell you. It all takes patience and it takes persistence. It took me a whole 90 days to completely break free of my sugar addiction. But I'll tell you, like, my brain feels so clear. I'm so focused. I have lots of natural energy and I'm not on a wild emotional roller coaster all day long driven by sugar. So I know you can do it. You got this. And I'm so excited for you to break free of sugar and feel good after 40.